don't like writing in the comment section, but I try to put up at least one, sometimes two posts a week, and every blog that I will post, I'll get on average maybe 200 emails on it.
How many?
200.
Is that?
Really?
Yeah.
A personal email.
Yeah.
Wow.
And a lot of it is, they just want to talk, right?
So what do you do with that?
I respond. I respond because I spent 35 years of my life holding in something, and I think if somebody is willing to just share something, I might be that only person that they feel comfortable talking to about that, and so I just chat. There's something that I like to talk about a lot, and that's it may help you. You might I'm sure you know somebody who has been sexually abused. The statistics in Canada, if you're not aware of it, 1 in 3 girls, 1 in 5 boys will be sexually assaulted before the age of 18. That's a lot of people. All that a survivor really wants to happen, if he or she ever gets to the point of disclosing what happened, is just to have the person believe. I was on the CBC radio show this afternoon, and I was so angry. I read in the local paper today, in the editorial section, about the two liberal members of parliament who were kicked out. And in the editorial, the writer had said that, well, if these were so serious in terms of sexual assaults, why didn't the women report to the police? And why hasn't the NDP encouraged them to report to the police? It drives me crazy. If someone ever shares something like this with you, all that I ask is that you just listen. And you try to believe the person. And if at all possible, don't say the one thing that you want to say, the one thing that's coming from your heart. Try not to say sorry. I'm so sorry. Because then what happens is the individual has to spend time reassuring you. And that's really what this whole experience is not about, right? And it's, I know what that's like, right? My wife, Marianne, and I have had to try to navigate that space. It's a weird space. And I know now what I should try to do when someone approaches me about it. Yeah. Kelly! I think there's, there was always that percolation happening out there with Bill Cosby for years, but he's like the big banks, too big to fail. But with this Young Gameshi thing, I think in Canada, I was doing an interview about this last week. I think in Canada, we don't afford celebrity to people very often, right? We don't do that. And when we do, and we all did, most of us did with Young Gameshi, when they screw up, they get cut down real fast, right? Like, we don't usually give this to you, and we gave this to you, and look what you did. And as soon as that scandal broke, you know what? I am a survivor of sexual abuse as a child and as a teenager. And I was traveling back from an event. I can't remember where I was flying in from, and I came up in my Twitter feed that the CBC had suspended him or whatever it was initially. And then his famous Facebook post, right? And I posted that next day, how dare the CBC not have you open-minded about, sexual practices and blah, 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 blah. And then the next day, when the real stuff came out, I wrote this whole blog post about, I'm such an idiot, I can't believe I did that. Of all people, I should have known better than to do that. But that Twitter campaign, Been Raped, Never Reported, within 24 hours, it had been retweeted over 1 million times. Within a week, it was over 10 million times. And people are coming out, right? So I think it's time to change. I've been speaking a lot recently in universities and colleges about that, because I think this is where, if you're going to affect it, it's got to happen here.
Your wife,
the love of my life.
Yes, and says that you're a very, very positive person. You've known that for a long, long time.
For those of you who don't know what Badwater is ugly. It's a 120-mile race that goes through Death Valley, and they start the damn thing at noon when it's, I think, 120 degrees or something like that. It's unbelievable. But no, Badwater is not in my future. If my wife is in my future, Badwater is not in my future. When is enough enough? I don't know. I'm not naive. I know that basically I've just replaced one addiction with another addiction. But the thing that you'll discover in ultra sports, especially at the endurance level, I would say more than 25% of the runners that I know are recovering drug and alcohol addicts. It attracts a certain level of self-abuse. Yes. When is enough enough? I don't know. I put myself in the hospital with anemia. After the Comrades race, I mean, you probably don't want to know this, but I'm telling you anyway, after the Comrades race, I was so beaten up and so severely dehydrated that I didn't pee for almost 48 hours, and when I did, it was just blood for a little while, because your kidneys are so beaten up. I don't know. But it's almost like going to war. It's like, when you're doing it, it's not so much fun, but like when you're in the Legion after, it's like, oh yeah, I remember that. It's a little bit of that. I don't know. I know it's not sane. I believe that, right? My wife also runs. She runs 5 and 10 Ks, and you can really only have one of us in the house, really. It doesn't work otherwise. She doesn't like running with me, and she'll only run with me if I'll go out and run for a couple hours first and then come back. There was a point where I would run off ahead and come back and run off, and that just pissed her off. And I wasn't doing it to piss her off. So, yeah, I don't know what that looks like. As soon as I do, I'll tell you. There's lots of parts in that question. I'll try to unpack parts of them for you. I think I start by saying, if I were in school today, I would have been definitely diagnosed as ADHD and completely drugged. I have 2 speeds, completely hyper, and even if I'm sitting at home watching TV, my legs bouncing, or I'm doing laundry and watching TV, I'm doing it, right? I'm busy, or I'm completely asleep. So Marianne has a really hard time sleeping, so I lie on the bed, I'm gone within about 30 seconds, right? And so I wake up occasionally with Marianne looking at me at 3 o'clock in the morning with that evil death stare. As she's on Facebook saying, I can't sleep, and he's snoring away. But running, you know what it does? And it's hard to describe this to people unless they've run long enough. I run every day. I run about 200 kilometers a week on average. Sometimes it gets up to 250 on a busy training schedule. And the first hour of my runs, I'm not enjoying it at all. Everything kind of feels weird and tweaky and not good. At about an hour and a half, I start to feel a little bit better. But at like 3 hours, your mind completely shuts off. And it's all about just moving forward. I think you can only hit a certain level of pain. And then once you hit that level of pain, if you just say to yourself, it's not going to get worse than this, you can really just keep going. And no, this for women in the audience, this is the thing for you. When it comes to longer distances, the longer that we run, the farther that we run, women start to narrow that distance between men and women in terms of time. Yes. So we actually have races that are long enough, the women always win. So in the ultra runs that I'm doing, the hardest competition is not coming from guys, it's coming from the women. forget the 5K. Just quit your job and run full time. Yeah. I don't know if I'd answered it.
Yeah, part of it. It's all about the thing that separates the physical and the psychological. Because I mean, for me, when I hit that 4 minute part of the run, it's a question of whether or not the treats are going to feel that the discomfort that's happening is going to keep me beyond anything that's happening upstairs, get to that point where
Well, the thing about ultra marathons is it's not about whether or not you're going to feel crappy during the race. It's how many times you're going to feel crappy during the race. So if I'm running a 100-miler, you'll be running all day and all night. And during that course, you'll probably throw up. Actually, it's another theme. You'll probably get sick to your stomach at least twice, right? And it's totally insane to be like, violently ill at the side of a trail at 3 in the morning, and then it's like, oh, okay, I feel a little bit better now, and then continue running for another 6 hours. There's this great, crazy event that happens every year in Ottawa. It's called the Transcendental Run, and it's run around the Carleton University track, 400 meters, and it's a 24-hour race, and all you're trying to do is to see who can run the farthest distance in 24 hours. But it's okay. Every 6 hours, they change direction. So 3 years ago, there was a female runner, and she was running it. And at 20 hours, she passed out in the middle of the track from severe dehydration. Because, of course, it's run in August when it's at its hottest. And they rushed her to the hospital, hooked her up to IV for 2 hours. She pulled the IV out, came back to the race, ran the last 45 minutes, and won.
Still won. There you go.
She won it because she had enough. I mean, there's something. You have to admit, there's something really kind of cool about that, right? Yeah. So yeah, that's kind of what I think is cool, right? It's an insanity of it. Go ahead.
Kind of off topic, but it's on the theme of running. I mean, I've run 30 marathons, but never any official ultra. And to me, media in the sports world does not give ultra athletics the attention that I honestly think it deserves.
Well,
how do we get there?
I don't know how we get there. And I don't, it's kind of funny because if you run marathons are all intense, right? And this is why my wife never goes, traditionally doesn't go to places like Boston. In Boston, it's a weekend with just crazy runners, and nobody wants to walk anywhere, nobody wants to sightsee. You're all trapped in your hotel room. You're going to bed at 5 o'clock. It's the whole thing, right? So why would you drag a spouse to this type of an event? But in an ultra marathon, it's totally laid back. It's just people at the start line. There's like drinking coffees at the start line because they know they're going for 28, 24, or 48 hours, depending on how long the race is. It's just a totally different thing. It's like, and at the end of an ultra race, typically, as soon as you finish, you stop. You get your change of clothes, your medal or whatever, grab a shower, and then you grab a lawn chair and you pop yourself down. Then you wait for the last person to finish. It could be 10, 12 hours for that person to finish. And it's really about that. And although it's more insane to run further, it's actually, for me, I think, a saner type of running. But I don't know. It's competitive in a different way.
Yeah.
I've lost track of your time frame a little bit, but is the urge to have alcohol, drugs, is that gone? Have you?
I think I'm only laughing because Christine is a friend of mine. She's a Facebook friend. And as I mentioned, tomorrow I will be 18 years clean and sober if I can make it through this night. But I'm going back to the rocket tonight. I don't know. I may not. I was totally lost trying to find this place. And everybody, all the students that I kept bumping into in my car, I said, where is that place? It's the building that looks like a big shot glass. Oh, well, you don't know who you're talking to. Last night, night I went to Yuck Yucks, and I was like by far the oldest person in Yuck Yucks, and I was only just me, so they tried to sit me at the bar, right? And so they said, just sit here, you don't need one, you don't need a whole table, this is fine. And it's just like a wall of booze, and so I turned to the guy and I said, listen, I really can't sit at the bar, can I just a chair somewhere else? Is there anywhere else? No, you really need to sit at the bar. Okay. Here's the story. So after like 2 minutes of this, I'm a raging alcoholic, he said, okay, sir, no problem, sir. And so they sat me in a great seat. And so, but then for the rest of the night, all these servers kept coming up to me with more water. Want some more water? They thought I was going to lose it at any moment. But so, not to make light of the situation, there's not a day goes by where I don't have a massive craving for drugs or alcohol. I still do a hell of a lot of AA meetings, yeah, it's just something that's always going to be there. There's a saying in addiction that when you go into recovery, whatever your addiction is, it's just in the background doing push-ups, getting stronger. So if I start drinking or drugging again, it won't take me 2, 3, 4 months to get to where I'm at. I'll be within a day or so drinking a lot. I'm not sure if you ever saw that movie Leaving Las Vegas with Nicolas Cage, sorry. And there's that, I love that scene. I mean, I think it's an insane scene, but I love it at the beginning where he's in the liquor store with his shopping cart. He's just filling it up with booze because he's planning on killing himself over the weekend with booze. That was me, right? That was me doing my Christmas booze shopping on December 22nd and having to go back out on the 24th because the stuff that I got for a week lasted 2 days. Like, I was sober for 4 years before Marianne got a wine rack. And we never had one of these before. Of course we never had one of these before. And Marianne, she's a social drinker, and I don't understand it at all. She has a little bit of wine, which is totally fine, because if I'm going out, it's not going to be on red wine. It's not my choice. But I remember I was about 2 years sober, and I had a couple of people over from my AA meeting. We were going out to a movie or something, and they came into my house, and they walked into the kitchen, and on the kitchen counter was a half a glass of wine with saran wrap over the top. And, we were chatting away, and all of a sudden, they stopped talking. I said, what is that? I said, it's a half a glass of wine with saran. Well, what's it doing there? I said, well, Marianne didn't finish it the night before. She wanted to go back. What? She didn't finish it? It was like a half a glass of wine. I mean, they couldn't even get it. So yeah, no, it's bad. It's really bad. I need to remember that I'm an addict, but it really doesn't take me that long. My addiction right now is chocolate chip cookies.
There you go.
And I can literally wipe out 2 dozen easily in a night when Marianne makes them. And I get up in the morning feeling kind of that sugar hangover and feeling crappy and remorseful, and then instead of running 20K, I run 30K, and then I feel tired from that, and then it's like, this is nuts, right? But yeah, that's me. Nuts. In a small package.
Can I ask you about your fundraising?
Yeah.
You've done, and I guess you were fortunate enough to be able to get treatment through the Gateway program.
Yeah, Gatehouse, yeah.
Gatehouse. And I guess what's been your experience in terms of trying to get treatment and people who are looking for treatment?
Well, when I tried to find some help for men, there is very little. For women, they can typically go to rape crisis centers, and then they get redirected that way. But there's very little help for men. But they're starting to get more services out there. I mean, I happen to be lucky to live in Toronto, so I'm not saying that because I think Toronto is central. That's not, I know that's the way that sounded, but that's not what I meant. Let me finish the end of that sentence. I was lucky that there were support systems in place for me there, but it was really hard finding it there. So I know just outside of the city, you really are at a loss for finding some place to get help. And the money that this treatment program got, this $25,000, I raised entirely over Twitter and Facebook. And a huge chunk of it came from runners. And I was down in Boston everybody convinced me to change my fundraising goal from $10,000, which I hit in a week, to $25,000. And the thermometer, you know, I'm a type A personality. It was stressing the hell out of me that it may not get to the top, right? And here I am, it's like the night before the run, I had $5,000 and I thought, you know, I've tapped everybody. There's not another person I can tap for this. So I sent out this message saying, I'm going to bed soon. Well, we got close to the goal, but it doesn't look like we're going to make it. So then I started to get all these messages from people on Twitter and Facebook saying, JP's got to get some sleep. We've got to start kicking in more money. He's got to get up early. He's got to do this. He's got to do that. I went to bed, completely forgot about it. Woke up, had my bagel at 3 a.m. in the hotel room, and Marianne looks at it. $5,000. That evening came in, like magically. It was just so cool. And another really cool thing, that this guy I'd never met before, who I knew on Twitter, said to me, I'd really like to run Boston one year, but he can't qualify for it because he's not quite fast enough. And I said, it's too bad I didn't know that. I could have arranged for you to come out and run the first part with me, because that part was unsanctioned, no problem. And he said, oh, really? Okay. Oh, that's too bad. So this was on Friday. The marathon's on Monday. I get a message from him Sunday night. I'm in Boston. I've flown down. I'm staying with a friend. Where should I meet you tomorrow morning?
Nice.
So he said, I'll wear a red hat to be able to find me. So it's 5 o'clock in the morning. We go down to the, official finish line on Boylston, and he's the only guy standing, right? Like, nobody else out. It's like the marathon doesn't start till 10 o'clock, 42 kilometers away, right? So nothing's happening until 2 in the afternoon. So we're standing there. I'm like, oh, nice to meet you. It's great, blah, blah, blah. And then out of the corner of our eye, this truck comes barreling down Boylston. It's the NBC film crew. They said, oh, we're hurt. You're getting ready to start? They'd heard about this, and so they did this live interview, and we're standing there, and like these bright lights are on us. This guy I don't even know is like, so I met JP on Twitter, and and he ran the first part of the marathon with me. And when we got up to the official start, he had to pull out, and then I thought, oh, that's it. I'll never see this guy again. I ran the marathon, and I ran the first one in 4 hours and 9 minutes. I tried to keep it nice and conservative. And on the second one, I was all about the selfie, right? I was stopping everywhere, taking pictures of people. I was so excited, right, that this was finally over. And I met my wife about 2 miles before the finish line, and I stopped. She got this great video of kissing her, and my son and daughter-in-law came, and I had no idea they were coming to Boston. And I'm in tears. I still have another mile to run, right? So I gotta go. So I finished this, and I'm heading down Boylston, and it's the first time I've been on Boylston since the bombing the year before, right? So as soon as I turn this corner, it's a huge, wide street, and it's just thousands of people along this thing, and it's about 1.5 kilometers to the finish line. You can see it. And I'm running, and out of nowhere, I hear, JP. I stop, I look over, and there's this guy, Janesh, who had run with me in the morning. He showered, and he's standing there on Boylston Street, waiting for me. So I go over, I'm hugging and kissing. He's now my new best friend, right? He's coming to Toronto to run the 3 marathons with me this year. I'm flying this sucker up. He's a keeper. Right?
Got it.
So I'm hugging and kissing, blah, 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 and I cross the finish line in exactly 4:09. The second time. Totally unplanned. And then I have my phone with me, and I never run with my phone. And all these text messages pop. Did you do that on purpose? Did you do that on purpose? And I said, no, 409. I didn't know that. No, I wasn't trying to do that. I said, no, not that. I had actually crossed the finish line at the exact time of the first bomb.
That's right.
To the second.
Amazing.
I know. Creepy. But yeah, running has changed my life. Any other questions? Yeah.
So earlier this semester, CBT reported on the potential results, and the numbers that they reported showed that we have a future in this country will not be comfortable reporting sexual assault happening on university health campuses. Is
squirmy one, right? It's the squirmy one. We need it not to be so squirmy. But this is the start. Well, thank
There
you.
you go.
We have a little thank you bag for
What
you.
is this thing?
Squid.
Squid.
You know what? I feel like such a Torontonian. I look at this. I can't. Apparently, I spent the afternoon with this, and apparently I don't even pronounce the name properly. A guy did look. He's like, oh, Christine's like, whatever. Just don't pronounce it like that. I said, what? I spent 50 years of my life pronouncing it like that. How did I just now
There you go.
understand so you can land?
Ah.
I promise to do that as long as you don't say Toronto. Nobody says Toronto. Anyways, I have no idea what this thing was.
Yeah, so it is a squid.
It's a squid. I kept thinking, what? It's so phallic looking. What is it? It's a squid.
But here you go. There's no thank you. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
All right.